Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be making melt bread, and I'm going to be showing you two different types of melt bread, only because I got two different types of tin. The ingredients are identical, but the proving up may be slightly different. And if you've never been here before, I'm a professional baker and I show you all the tricks of the trade and some of those things you've never seen before which other YouTube channels don't show you. And if you like this type of content, please subscribe and please share, and don't forget to check out the description because that is where you're going to find your recipe. And also while you're down there, you'll find lots more video recipes waiting for you. Right, we'll get right on with the recipe. And for your ingredients, you want 450 grams of baker's flour, 300 grams of milk, 14 grams of fresh yeast, 3 grams of salt, 3 grams of bread improver. Now that's an option. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. And 7 grams of salt. Now for this recipe, you do need a machine. You can do it by hand if you like, but it'll take you all day. I'm only joking. It'll just take just as long. The only difference is, whereas we're going to be mixing this dough for 10 minutes on 3rd speed, you're going to be having to work your butt off to actually mold it up by hand. So just use a machine. And if you haven't got one of these machines, that's a little tip for you guys out there. Use the bread machine just to make the dough. You don't really want a hand up through the middle of a loaf of bread, do you? And they're ugly looking things, little square things like that. You want a proper tin, don't you? So put our hook on first. Add it in our milk. Add it in our sugar. Add in our yeast. And just let this mix around. So all this is doing is what I would normally do with a whisk. We're just mixing it all around so everything's mixed in together, all the liquids. Now in this recipe, you don't need to wait for your yeast to froth up. In fact, I don't think I've actually done a recipe which I wait for the yeast to froth up, even making sourdough. So we get our flour in, our bread improver, and our salt. And you know where we're going with this, don't you? And we'll start mixing this on 1st speed for 1 minute. Right, we'll now knock it on to 2nd speed and 3rd speed. So we're going to be mixing this for 5 minutes, then we're going to turn it off, give it a good scrape then, and then mix it for a further 5 minutes. Well, that's 5 minutes. What we're going to do is now check the dough just to see what the consistency is like. It's quite tighter than normal. So that might need a little bit more liquid in it. But also it can be, as the dough warms up, it also gets softer. You can go a little bit softer if you like, but I'm going to leave it with that. That'll be fine. So we'll pop this back onto 3rd speed for another 5 minutes, and then our dough's ready. Well, our dough's ready. So all we need to do is get some prep spray, and we're going to spray it around the bowl. Also, we're going to spray it into this bowl. But if you want some of this, it is available on my eBay store. The link is in the description and it's not that expensive. So we'll spray around this bowl first. And then pop our machine on and just spray round, little bit round. And if you want to stop its dough sticking to your hand, just put some prep spray on there like that. And that'll stop the dough sticking. All we need to do is just mould that into a bit of a ball. And that's how your dough should be. And all we're going to do is cover that up and just wait for that to double its size. So our dough's now ready. Now that took 10 minutes to double its size. So just beware. So we'll put that straight on the table. Just need your scales. Now you just want to split this in half really. So each of those dough pieces weigh 380 grams. So we're going to be moulding these up to go in a tin. An easiest way for you guys, just flatten it down and grab hold of it and just roll it up like this. Okay. and that's it. Well, this is the tin I'm going to be using. Now, you might be able to get some of these on the net. I don't know. I haven't ever looked for one. Now, this tin itself is probably around about 50-year-old, hence why the colour. And it's called a ring tin for one reason only. Spot the obvious. They got ring shapes. And all the old bakers used to make lots and lots of these. These days, you very rarely see any at all. So all we need to do is just grease the tin with your prep spray. Now with this one, you do want a bit more spray in than you normally do because it's got the rings. Now there's your rings. So all we do is make sure your smooth side is down and your little seam is up like that. Okay, seam up like that. Let's push them into the tin. So that's it. All we need to do then, you're like this, let's put the top on it and we just leave it there until it proves up. So this dough isn't quite ready yet because obviously I made this straight after the other and that was like 15 minutes of difference. So that's got a roundabout, I would say, at least another 10-15 minutes to wait. Now these are the tins you need, 1 pound tins. Now you can do this as a large tin if you want to. Once again, we just spray the insides out. Just like that. We'll just wait about another 10 minutes for this because it looks as though it's a little bit slower than the other one. It's all down to the temperature. And obviously my milk was very, very cold. Well, our dough's ready, so we'll get that out of the bowl. You might not think it's as puffed up as the other one, but you don't need to worry too much. So what we need to be doing with this one is scaling this off at 126 grams each. All we want to do is mould these round. Now we've moulded them round, we're going to put them into the tins. Now the idea is you want to get them so they go like this together. So when they're in the tin, this is how they want to be. So we just pick up all three and just push them in there like that. Pick all three up. All we need to do is wait until it proves up to about that much, give or take. Now I'm going to leave these for around about 1 hour, give or take. All I'm going to do is put a cloth over them like this. And that's it. Just walk away and just leave it. But just before they're due to go in the oven, slapping a bit of egg wash over the top. Before we get that far, 30 minutes in to proving, get your oven on. Now your oven temperature wants to be 220 Celsius and that's fan assisted. And our first lot of bread's ready. It's the ring tins. So we're going to get them straight into the oven. Now they're going to be baking for around about 35 minutes. So they do take a lot longer because it's in a tin and they've got a lid on as well. So let's get them into the oven. So let's have a look at these and see what they're like. So all we're going to do is egg wash the top of these loaves now. Now in this pot, I've got 50% egg and 50% water. And just go over the top. That just makes that nice golden colour. And also I'm putting a bit of liquid on that also reduces the skinning. But there isn't really a lot on that. Now because these were 15 minutes behind the ones that are in the oven, these would also be 15 minutes longer to prove. So we'll see you back in 15 minutes. Well, our bread's ready. Oh yes, look at those babies, just right. So we're going to get these into the oven. Now we're going to put them in the oven and they're going to be baking at 220 Celsius for around about 30 minutes, give or take. Might be a little bit less. Halfway through, turn them around in the oven. That's completely different to my ring tins, which you just chuck them in the oven and leave them. Right, we'll get these straight into the oven. At home, when you're doing your baking, just keep an eye on your oven, because obviously your oven could be like mine and it's absolutely all over the shop. In the bakery, it's different. I just chuck it in the oven, walk away, and you can switch it off and it'll bake itself in the heat which is in the oven. These type electric ovens, they're on all the time, but I always try to knock them off almost by the end of the baking, turn them off and let the heat do the cooking. Well folks, the bread's ready. We'll go and get it out. Well, there you go folks. Yeah, I did get these out a little bit earlier, but only because they were 15 minutes adrift of each other. Right, so first and foremost, let's have a look and cut one open. Well, we're going to start with the ring loaf. I'm always interested to see what the centers look like. Remember, normally I do this at work, not at home. Oh yes, I like that. That looks nice. Best take a slice off. Oh, smells beautiful. That's lush. So let's do a little close up and have a look and see what it looks like inside. Now that has actually got a more closed in texture. That's because it was trapped in a tin. Nicely baked though, and that's lovely inside. So we know the ring loaf's lovely, but unless you've got any tins you can buy, you're limited. Whether they do them on Amazon or not, or like a ring tin or not, I don't know. Right, moving on for this little baby. And once again, what I did with this, as soon as it came out the oven, I washed the top over with butter. It just gives that nice glaziness. And also, because this was baked off a lot lighter, because obviously, because that was in a tin, you've got a job to judge when it's ready and when it's not. I always say 35 minutes in the oven, but I always look at them after 20, you know, just in case. But these are different weight to what I would do at work, because obviously I'm limited to my machine, how much dough I can actually make in it. So let's chop this one open. Once again, it's a traditional melt loaf. Oh yes, I like the look of that. Now, some people do say, does the bread taste different in different shapes? Of course it does. Let's have a close up of this one. This time you've got more open holes because obviously it's raised up. But that looks a lovely loaf. Let's do the taste test on this one. Now, though they look very similar to each other, there is a difference. And they smell different as well. But then they were two separate doughs. In fact, you could eat that without any butter. And I love my butter, but that does taste nice as it is. There you go folks, if you enjoy this type of content, please subscribe and please share, and don't forget to check out the description, because down there you'll find your recipe and lots of playlists with more recipes just waiting for you. And if you've never been here before, don't forget, whilst you're down there, press that subscribe button. And we'll see you again very shortly on the Crazy Baker channel. Laters! This is the Crazy Baker channel. Baking. Lifestyle. Recipes. Reviews. I am the Crazy Baker. Please subscribe and please share. Laters!